A bird have to fly, a fish have to swim, a dog have to walk. You see how important that thing is? And people don't see the walk of a dog as that important, as that meaningful.
When we started this podcast, we thought it was going to be all about dogs. But looking back at some of the moments that you love the most, we realized it was about something bigger, the way dogs change who we are. Today, we're going to be revisiting some of our best moments, in case you missed any of them, including one from Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer himself, that honestly, we weren't prepared for. We're going to give some of our dog rescue farm updates, and a little bonus, something special. We have someone from our own team who you likely have seen before, Alexis, but you've never really heard her full story. All right, let's get started. This is Dogs and Coffee with your hosts, Kelly and Rocky Kanaka. Welcome to Dogs and Coffee. Today is a very special episode. If you're listening, we've got to tell people what is going on. If you're watching, you can see it. You can see it's different.
We are in our very first episode of doing it on the farm. We're in our coffee trailer. So as you can see, the back half is our little coffee shop. And up here, we are sitting down, having a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's a real working coffee trailer as well. Well, we don't have it online just yet, but in the next few weeks we should. We've been prepping it, filling out all the applications for the county approval. Like, we've been going through the whole process. So stick around for that, because you'll be able to come to the farm and get coffee. But we also wanted to do some podcasts right from the farm, because it's where everything's going to be happening. All of the dogs that we're rescuing will be here on the farm. A lot of the activities will be here on the farm. We'll be growing the coffee on the farm. We'll be farming on the farm, doing the whole thing. So we thought it'd be a lot of fun to just really make this homegrown, because so many of you have been on this journey with us. And that's what we thought is something we want to talk about in this episode, is just kind of recap some of our favorite moments from season 1 that you may have even missed. Like, there's something that Cesar Millan says that I'm going to share here in just a little bit that I wasn't prepared for. Do you know what part I'm talking about?
I don't.
You don't even know.
But we did go through it. We looked at some of the most replayed clips that you guys clipped on, some of the things that had the most comments, the stuff that really just kind of in our memory stand out of going, wow, that was a really neat moment.
We're going to go through those. We also, on this episode, are going to talk to Alexis from my show, Sitting with Dogs, producer Alexis. And we're going to get the tell-all, the behind the scenes, like what it's really like to work with Rocky Kanaka.
At the shelter, sitting in the kennel.
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's wonderful. I think what we've learned about the show is, of course, it's about dogs. We're in each episode always going to feature the adoptable dog. Today, Alexis is going to share our adoptable dog. She gave me a preview. It's awesome. This dog is awesome. So stick around for that. And that's what makes this show, I think, so awesome, because whenever you share that, whenever you subscribe, by the way, do that. We love you. We'd love to have you subscribe. Give them your best subscribe call out. You did.
Subscribe. You caught me mid-sit. Sorry.
But it really does. When you do that, it's giving back, because the more eyeballs that are here, the more eyeballs we have on these dogs that are available for adoption. So if you see that subscribe button, just hit it right now. Yeah, we're going to talk about the adoptable dog, and we talk about coffee. Like right now, I'm drinking my coffee black because I love it. How are you having your coffee right now?
I have cold brew with a little splash of whole milk.
Yum, yum. So we always have dogs and coffee, but what we realized the show is really about, and you guys probably could have pointed this out from the get-go because you're smart, is about second chances. And I think a lot of these guests that we sat down with, from celebrities to comedians to amazing folks, heroes out in the community doing amazing things, the things that are resonating with us the most are second chances.
That makes me think of Zach Skow.
Zach Skow, founder of Marley's Mutts, dog rescue extraordinaire, underwear model.
True.
I'll never let him live that down. Really does have a transformation story of second chances. And when you hear about Zach and some of the things that he went through and some of the lessons that he shares with all of us, you get it. Like, we sat down with a lot of really great people, from Mario and Courtney Lopez to Eliza Schlesinger to folks like Alison Eastwood out there that has her own rescue. I think the thing that Zach Skow did that everyone really connected with, where if you read the comments, it's best episode ever, like our favorite people sitting down and talking about the things that mattered, people saying, this hit me so hard, like I could barely even breathe. It makes sense when you hear Zach's story. He saved thousands and thousands of dogs. Let's play a clip from Zach when he was talking about his addiction.
I was raised in Hermosa Beach, California, became pretty much a everyday drinker, 17. Certainly when we went to college, it was every day, never really missed a day. Things progress pretty rapidly. You go down the path of hard drugs, which then became selling hard drugs out of a necessity to keep up with habits and try to have pocket money and just to, survive without having a lot of means. But really, alcohol was my demise. I was very physically, emotionally, spiritually addicted to alcohol. I had a really hard time being in my own skin. I never really saw what other people saw or understood what other people saw in me. I had this golden boy moniker was my nickname, and I couldn't stand that. I couldn't stand the expectations that came with that. Kind of felt like I was just chronically letting people down from like 16 years old on. And that was really, really hard on me. I had a really difficult time failing, and letting people down.
I think people don't realize that Zach started as the kid who had it all. And that's kind of, I think, what broke him.
Yeah, being called the golden boy, right?
When you are chronically letting people down, I think anyone in recovery that hits hard because they know that. Well, and I think anyone has experienced that, whether you're trying hard or not trying hard. Like when you constantly are letting someone down, it is so hard to deal with.
Well, and I think also just thinking about a child having those feelings that they are letting everybody down, your heart just breaks for them. Like that they feel that's what their experience is.
And Zach wasn't a casual drinker. And I think we should play the clip of him talking about that because it all comes full circle and how dogs really saved him and gave him that second chance.
She goes, honey, you need to go to a hospital immediately. You're in liver failure and you could die. And I was like, oh, come on, sweetheart. I just turned one on over the weekend. I just been getting hammered for a few, I'm fine. It was just from this, torturous couple of days. She goes, no. This is not from you going on a bender. This is, your liver, kidney, and pancreatic results are the result of a long time of abusing your body, and your liver is in complete failure and you could die and you need to go to a hospital immediately.
So Zach, at that time, I think he'd said he was 28 years old and months from dying, which I don't think I've ever heard him talk about in depth. And sitting down with him in this podcast and getting to have that real conversation was so impactful to me. And we both have family members where they have struggled with addiction. There's loss of life because of addiction. And even when you look at Zach and you see he built this dog rescue empire and has all the answers, and then you find out that it came from all of this struggle, like it really hit me hard.
And like any good alcoholic, I just lied about it. I just told everybody in my life that there was nothing wrong, that a doctor had recommended no hard alcohol and that I could continue drinking wine and beer. And I couldn't face it. I mean, it's a hard thing to imagine, but I remember walking out of that place with a terror that is hard to communicate to anybody unless they've had that taken away. Your whole life is interwoven with alcohol when you are addicted to alcohol. You can't imagine life without it. And imagining life without it is not worth it. My brain immediately goes to not existing. If you're telling me that alcohol can't be in my life, I'm telling you that I'm not going to be involved in life either. So my dad took me to the hospital and they checked me in for long-term care at Bakersfield Memorial Hospital. Within the first week, the doctor came in and said, you've got less than 90 days to live without a liver transplant.
Do you remember when Zach said, what was it, that they wouldn't let Drunks with Dreams start a nonprofit, or he thought that was the case? Because when you walk out with only 90 days left, you can either kind of crawl in a hole and go, okay, this is it, or go, I'm going to try to figure some things out with the time that I have left. And I think that's where Zach decided that he wanted to try for that second chance. Yeah.
And by the time, I got this diagnosis of no longer needing a transplant, I mean, I'm still a transplant patient. Once you're admitted to that program, you're always, I just don't need a transplant currently. But should I go into liver cancer or kidney disease or pancreatitis again, or
you're a candidate,
I'm a candidate and I'm in good standing because I've shown that I'm sober. I've shown, all of these things.
You've done the work.
Yeah, exactly. But, so Marley's Mutts, Marley's Mutts was just born out of doing that. And by the time I got healthy, looking like I'm going to survive, I was like, well, what am I going to do now? And all the girls at the veterinary hospital and at the pet lodge said, well, hey, dude, you should just do this. And I'm like, do what? And they're like, create a nonprofit dog rescue. And I was convinced the IRS wouldn't let drunks with dreams. I was convinced, like, there's no way they're going to let me become a nonprofit director. No fucking way is that going to happen.
Still might be out.
It's pretty funny. And it is neat how he can make light of the whole situation, because it was such a hard journey. But kind of fast forwarding to what really saved him, it was dogs. And he still lives that today. Like, notably, the best part of that whole podcast was his 2-legged dog, Cora Rose, double amputee.
Her desire to live a full life is so there. It is just beaming out of her pores. And I needed that. Yeah. I needed to be able to root down into a desire for life too, because I can get into this as a drug addict and an alcoholic. I can get into this poor me cycle, especially when things aren't going my way or I'm feeling kind of pushed around, where I can go, because when you're a drug addict and an alcoholic, if you can make people feel sorry for you, then you get what you want. You get what you need. And if I had a whole career of making people around me feel sorry enough to help me out, you know what I mean? So there's this kind of sick reliance on sympathy. And she just doesn't allow for naked, unhelpful sympathy. Right. She is just, she is trying to figure out the best routes to living a full and energetic life. She's never met a dog she doesn't like, never met a person she doesn't like, never met a thing she can't do, never met a hurdle in life that she's, nothing's ever depressed her. I mean, it's wild how resilient she is. And I know it's kind of trite to say, well, we can learn from how resilient our dogs are. But if you can humble yourself enough to view a dog as a life form that is worth emulating, as opposed to needing a person to emulate, dogs will teach you everything you need to know about life.
That was our whole show in one sentence. Like, I didn't even write that. Zach summed it up just in one sentence.
Well, and Cora's proof. So Cesar chose dogs over cartels.
Yeah.
Zach chose to live. I know you got something that's one of the most shocking things that someone said on this podcast with Cesar coming up, but I think we got to talk about some of the females that we've had on this podcast as well.
Arguably the most amazing guest, might I say. Okay, kick us off. What's one of your most memorable season 1 female?
Well, there were a lot, but I think the one that our audience really resonated the most with was Alison Eastwood.
I know a lot of reasons as to why, but why do you think that is?
I think it's the fact that she could have gone deep down the Hollywood route, given her last name, but she chose rescue instead. And I think you always hear people say, if I won the lottery, I'd start a rescue. So she's just doing the work.
That's so true. And she did win the lottery being born, I guess, to some extent, right? But yeah, so she then went and started dog rescue. She's doing the real work. And she said in there, a neat little portion is that it's not her dog rescue. It's a dog rescue she started. That is its own entity, will live on well beyond her. It's not hers.
Yeah.
It is, because it's come from her hard work and passion and dreams. But I think the other thing I love is, like, when people meet us, they often apologize because they think we know everything about rescue. And they're like, sorry, I got this dog I didn't know. And similar to Alison Eastwood, right? Daughter of Clint Eastwood, comes in and tells us that, like, the banjo adoption story, she was even doing dog rescue and she reached out to another rescue because she was scrolling through social media. Well, here, let's let her tell the story.
This is the star of the show. This is Banjo Eastwood Poitras. Sounds like there needs to be the third behind that, but no, she's just, she's actually was with another rescue, and I saw her picture on Facebook, and I said, that's our dog. Like, I that's her. And I called them and they said, don't you have your own rescue? Like, why are you calling? I said, no, I want that dog. So I went through the process like any person and filled out the application and paid the fee and did the whole thing.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because it is funny with, like, when you know, and yeah, it's kind of wild to think you had a rescue. They were probably a little suspicious.
I bet they were. Yeah, right. Alison Eastwood's calling to rescue a dog.
That sounds like a scam.
Yeah, it really does.
So yeah, she was the founder of a rescue who is calling another rescue to fill out an application for a dog that she saw online.
I think when we're out in public and people come and talk to us and they're surprised. They're almost surprised that we like engage with them and talk to them, which we love this. This is what we do for a living. Like we want to talk to you and talk about your dog. So always feel free to come say hi. But they ask, how do we pick the dogs that we pick to pull to our rescue farm to rehabilitate? And we have some parameters that we try to stick with. But I think the thing you learn in dog rescue is, unfortunately, there is so much need and the cavalry isn't coming. You're it. And so it's really hard sometimes to make that decision. And you often just have to let your heart lead. At the same time, I'll talk out of both sides of my mouth. You have to guard your heart as much as you can. And you have to be as strategic as you can about those decisions, because you see it all of the time. Even someone like Alison Eastwood running into things like compassion fatigue and being worn out and wanting to help all the dogs and save all the dogs, but they can't. I see rescues going out of business more than businesses, which just breaks my heart. We see so much turnover in the shelter and rescue environment.
Yeah, even Alison was talking about that as well.
That's a really hard environment to show up to every day and not either just completely shut down and disconnect or, not just harden your heart. So I give a lot of credit to those people that do that, because, a lot of people slam the shelters. Oh, why are they killing? Why are they doing this? I'm sorry. There's so many animals. What else are they going to do? There's no room. There's no funding. There's not enough spay and neuter. There's not enough responsibility taken by humans. There's nothing else to do,
Yeah.
Really, I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else to put them. And we send them to Oregon. We send them to Washington. I've sent them to British Columbia. I've sent them everywhere. And it doesn't matter. They just fall out of the sky, like thousands of them.
Really
I don't
do.
even know where they
By the
come
day.
from.
Yeah.
By the day. And it gets worse and worse every year.
It's not the shelter's fault in most situations.
Well, and I think every shelter worker who just listened to that feels seen and heard.
We need to have Hug a Shelter Worker Day. Can that be a thing? Can we get that on the books? What do you have to do to register for like a national holiday? Can you do that?
Well,
Is there like an online form you fill out?
I also feel like a lot of people that work at the shelter maybe do that because they like animals better than people.
Or they
So
don't want
that
hugs.
they don't want hugs.
Okay, fair enough. I'll definitely say I think Alison Eastwood is no nonsense, like Clint Eastwood, her dad, because I was like, okay, well, how do you get started? And she's like, I'm kind of tired of people committing and then not showing up. She didn't say it exactly like that. Let's play what she said, because I think the advice I gave after, because I see this so often, y'all wanting to get started, is really important.
But I've had a lot of people go, oh, I can't wait to come volunteer. I can't wait to do. Okay, yeah, whatever. Let's
Right.
see when you actually show up.
Right.
And a lot of them don't. And I don't have judgment about it. I understand. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of hot air out there. So if you're going to say you want to be a part of the solution, then do
Then
it.
go be part of the solution.
You can do it on the most minuscule level.
Yeah.
And it's really a no-brainer. So there's no excuse.
It's like a gateway, isn't it? Oh, well, and that's the neat thing I think about folks watching this, whether they came here to see you or they love coffee or they like dogs and they don't know where to get started, is like we have a passionate group of people that are actually taking action, which is so encouraging and so awesome. And so to the listener listening right now, I agree with Alison. Like it's a gateway, right? Start with something small. It will lead to more. You will learn things. Even I'll bet, don't do it now. Wait till the end of the podcast, but then get on your phone and just Google animal shelter or animal rescue in your area, and you will be shocked at how close some of them are. You can go visit them. Don't worry if you get rejected that day. Come back a few months later, try again.
Okay, before we get into Molly Burke,
Yeah.
do you want to share that moment with Cesar that left such an impact on you?
There were two things. One, something he shared that was unexpected, but it's because I think we're all willing to be vulnerable. Sometimes I think it's the same reason that dogs are willing to come around when I sit with them in a kennel, is because I'm not judging, I make so many mistakes. I have so many problems that like just opening up about that and sharing that I think is healing. But I think the Cesar Millan that people knew back when he was on television is a lot different than the Cesar Millan today. And you can even hear in some of the things he talks about in just the simplest advice, for example, of like taking your dog for a walk. Well, I'll let him explain it.
A bird have to fly, a fish have to swim, a dog have to walk. You see how important that thing is? Because for a bird to fly is very, very important. For a fish to swim is very, very important. And people don't see the walk of a dog as that important, as that meaningful,
Mm.
as that spiritual. You know what I mean? So when you walk with a dog and the dog follows you, it's not just the name of the dog or how much you love the dog, it's the spirit and the instinct following you.
I mean, that's it. That's the line. Like the whole philosophy in one sentence. I love how he said a bird has to fly, a fish has to swim, a dog has to walk.
I mean, have we been walking our dogs wrong this whole time?
We know, but it is often easy to forget when life gets busy. You know, the things that are so meaningful to us, like our dogs and the people in our world and in our circle, when we lose sight of that, I think that's where it can all fall apart. And, you know, I had heard that Cesar had been through some hard times and some challenges, but something I wasn't prepared for that he shared with us. Let's replay it. I want him to share it again because I think it can help a lot of people. Certainly pioneering this sort of space, there had to be hard days and days where you didn't even want to get out of bed.
Well, the only time I didn't want to get out of bed is when I tried to, commit suicide. That was the only time. Other than that, every single day after that, it has been before that day because I love the 5 a.m. I love to walk dogs and they need it. So you can't really skip a day. So being a pet parent is a 24/7.
Yeah.
365. Your birthday, so what?
Yeah.
They don't understand that concept that you keep them behind doors in your home. Their brain wants to move at 5 a.m. right? Because they're daytime animals. So if you go 6, 7, and all of that, that's up to you. But they will really love to get out at 5 a.m.
Right? They're ready.
They're ready because they're going with the clock of the earth.
Mhm.
Right. So I really enjoy that part and I know how much it means to them instinctually.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with their heart or their mind, just their instinct.
Right.
Right. Nighttime animal loves nighttime, but daytime animal loves daytimes. And a dog is a daytime animal, like the horse, like the donkey and all of those guys. So for me, I never stop.
Yeah.
I have never stopped ever.
I'm glad that he shares that because I know a lot of people have been in that situation. And you see the dog whisperer himself, Cesar Millan, and where he's at now and how balanced he is. I think it's important that he shares those moments. It hasn't always been blue sky and rosy situations. I think a lot of people are in that situation. It's one of the reasons why on the farm, I want to have veterans come walk dogs because the suicide rate is so high. A veteran told me that if there was a dog walking program where you had to come walk the dogs, that they would show up because that dog depended on them. And it's the one thing that might resonate with them. It's not always just that simple, but it is one thing I want to provide on the farm if we can get to that where veterans can come walk the dogs because that dog that they are assigned to will be depending on them every single morning.
Yeah. Well, and I spoke to a veteran who said, you should have them fill out a form that tells how they feel before
Mhm.
and then do it again after. And it'll probably show like marked improvement because, from spending time sitting with dogs in a kennel, that just being in their proximity brings you comfort and closeness and calmness.
Yeah. It really does. And that's what dogs do for us. It's what the farm is going to do for me because one of the reasons we started this podcast is because I would have such dark, hard days when we would lose some of the dogs. We would film some videos. We would film some videos and we wouldn't be able to publish the video because the dog didn't make it. And you guys never saw those videos, but it weighed on me. And I think having the farm is going to be even healthy for me because when I step out of that kennel, I know that I can come to this safe space, to this farm and just be re-energized. And hopefully people watching this podcast get the same thing from us, showing up weekly, having these conversations. Hopefully they can be a part of that as well. And look, I mean, it does all tie back to second chances and dogs helping us.
Yeah, in amazing ways, like even Molly Burke's dog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about Molly Burke. And also, though, you got to stick around for Alexis because she's going to give us all the deep, dark secrets of sitting with dogs and what it's actually like to work with me.
Well, I could also tell you that.
Nah, it's different though. You have those love goggles on,
Yep.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
All right. Change the subject to Molly Burke quickly.
So Molly Burke, blind since she was 14. She's a guide dog handler. And she really articulated what this whole show is about in her own words.
Yeah. And you know what? Like her story of how she was going blind, like she wasn't born blind, but she knew she was going to be blind, just at how fast that rate was going to be. Being a teen is already hard enough, and going through that, and how important service dogs were to her in that journey was really neat. What I really love about Molly too is like, boy, she just says it like it is. And we had some questions like, okay, what about someone putting on a fake service dog vest to like fly their dog? Here's what Molly had to say.
So they're just guide dogs is the generic term,
Okay.
Okay.
which is a subsection of service dog.
So we're Kobe's guide people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Now, there's medical alert dogs for things like seizures,
Right.
diabetes, POTS. There's mobility dogs for wheelchairs or balance issues. There's psychiatric dogs for things like PTSD.
Yep.
So there's all sorts of uses for service dogs these days. But unfortunately, there's also a million people who just want an excuse
Right.
to bring their dog everywhere with them.
Right.
So this is where we get into people saying, I have a certified service dog, which, by the way, I just saw that Ariana Grande has a service dog,
Okay.
and everywhere calls it a certified service dog. And this is driving me insane because that literally means nothing. That does not exist. There is legally no such thing as a certification. I don't have a certified service dog.
Right.
It
And
doesn't
if you don't
exist.
have it. Yeah. Exactly.
It does not exist. And I'm not here to question somebody's validity of having one or not. That's not my job. If you're going to have a service dog, please use your power and privilege to raise awareness and talk about this, because calling it a certified service dog is continuing to perpetuate that you can go online and buy a certification. You are wasting your money. That is a scam.
Mhm.
That means nothing. It does absolutely nothing. Under the ADA law, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, you can ask a service dog handler 2 questions. If I walk in to your establishment, you can ask me, is that a service dog? My answer, yes. Second question, what service does it provide? You are not allowed to ask, what is your disability?
Okay.
You are allowed to ask, what service does it provide?
Okay.
What tasks does it perform? In my case, I would say he guides me. Finds stairs, finds obstacles, finds doors, chairs, stops at curbs. Those are his tasks to mitigate symptoms of my disability. You give the tasks that they do. Those are the only 2 questions you are allowed to ask. You are not allowed to ask for proof. You are not allowed to ask for certification. And if somebody gives you that, it is probably a fake service.
That's a sniff test real quick. You can go in that.
So now what happens is real people like me who don't have a certification get asked for the certification, which is already against the law, and I say that. And then they say, well, other people give it to me. So now I look like the fake
Right.
Right.
because the fake ones are giving certifications.
Right.
So 14, you had mentioned how hard it was for her to lose her vision, but she chose to rebuild her life and to not be a passive passenger.
I didn't want to keep living. And I was like, okay, well, that's an option. And the other option is giving myself a chance. Because right now I'm not really giving myself a chance to live a better life when I'm like wallowing, when I'm just depressed and throwing myself in daily pity party and I'm angry and I'm resentful and asking why me. I'm not really giving myself a shot at living a good life, if that's the headspace I'm continuing to just let myself sit in. So I just gave myself a chance to like rebuild, and it meant actively choosing myself and actively choosing to be a part of my own recovery, not just being like a passive passenger in it, but really taking control of my life. And it was very multifold, from learning about nutrition and like what food fuels my body, gives me good energy, mentally, clarity, figuring out different forms of adaptive activities that I could do, downhill skiing for the blind, singing and songwriting. That's something anybody can do. You don't need to see to do that
Right.
on an equal playing field. Being able to find new social groups that accepted me, being able to explore and experiment with style that made me feel confident, get my body moving. All of those things play a vital role in healing mind, body, spirit.
With every guest that we have on, we ask them 2 questions. And everyone listening should ask themselves this question of their soul dog, whether the dog is still with them or a dog that has gone over the rainbow bridge. And that is your soul dog, Gypsy. If Gypsy was here now and could understand you for a moment, what would you say to Gypsy?
Well, I know some people are going to think I'm cuckoo bananas, but I firmly believe Elton John is the reincarnation of Gypsy.
Okay.
So I do think she's with me right now. I think she came back for me.
What would Gypsy say to you?
Ooh, That's a hard one. I think it's so hard when you lose a dog because for me, all I think is like, was I enough? Was I good enough? Like, they were so good to me. I feel like I can't possibly be as good to my dogs as they are to me. They do so much for me that I could never repay. So I like to hope and think that she would validate to me that I did do enough, because that's what I feel like I need to hear from them,
Yeah.
is that I was enough.
I would bet that she would say that Molly Burke was enough. I would bet that most of our dogs would say that we are enough. Okay, we have Alexis to come. Alexis, the producer. You hear her voice often in Sitting with Dogs. Sometimes people think that it's a robot. I think because it's so close to Alexa, and she's got a really good like radio voice. But yeah, you're gonna get to see her, meet her, hopefully fall in love with her as much as we love her. Let's bring in Alexis, the producer of Sitting with Dogs. Alexis, are you out there? Wait, that's normally how I say it.
Yes, I'm here.
The only difference here is I won't be as reactive because we don't have the bars in between me, so I won't be as kennel reactive.
That's true. It's
So
a little different.
You'll probably get a much cooler, calmer Rocky.
You're pretty calm.
I know, I'm kidding. Okay, if you haven't ever seen Sitting with Dogs, what I do is I go into the kennel, I sit with the dog. While I'm doing that, Alexis is walking around the shelter, getting the details, looking up the information on her computer. And so often I will say, like, Alexis, are you out there? Because I can't see her. I can't see around the kennel. Sometimes she's hiding, so the dog's not reactive. But I think more than anything, you probably have some really juicy behind the scenes tell-all moments that you can share with us today.
Maybe. I mean, it depends on how juicy do you want to get, you know?
I guess I don't know. I don't know how deep we can dig. Let me just start by saying this so that everyone hears it. Because a lot of times too, when we're in the kennel environment, we're kind of firing back and forth. And I definitely, if I was watching myself, I would think I was a very bossy boss. So I think the first question is, am I a bossy boss?
Yes, but not in the negative connotation.
That is negative.
No. Let me explain.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean it in like a take charge. You're like, I got it. I know what I want to do. It's just like help execute it. You're polite. You know what you want to do. It's just like, how do we get there? So that's what I mean by, in a good way, bossy boss.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and we worked together for a while too. I have no doubt that if you disagree, you will let me know you disagree, which is nice.
In a nice way.
Yeah, 100%. And the niceties get edited out often, where we'll say, hey, could you help me with this, please? Because we're just getting to the facts.
Yeah.
And we're often in high stress situations in the kennel with the dog. Are they going to bite me? Like, what is the dog going to shut down? What's the story? I think what a lot of people don't see is it's really hard to focus because of all the dogs barking and the scent of pee, poo, disease, and Lysol.
I would agree. The smell of the cleaners. I mean, sometimes we're going, you got to have an iron nose for sure to be in the shelter because it can be so overwhelming, like everything, not just with the smells, but it's like hard sometimes not to get emotional because you see all the dogs in the rows and you just see one after the other that's got some mountain of issues going on. I mean, as you've explained in the episodes before, we have AI filter on all of them because otherwise, I mean, if you got dogs at home, I mean, they would just be going crazy because they'd be hearing all the dogs in the background that all need help. They want somebody to come by. So it gets overwhelming for sure.
It does. Let's rewind back to when you and I first met, because I think I want to just say I am so lucky to have you on the team and on this journey with me, because it's more than just a job. Like, we are winning together, we are losing together, and you feel the brunt just as much as I do when we lose a dog. And it doesn't always hit you in the moment. Sometimes it'll hit you months later. And some of the days can be really hard. And some of the things we can't always talk about that I don't know if we wish we could talk about it, but we can't. We have to really always keep the shelter and the staff and the team in mind, where we can't just share everything because it would make them sometimes look bad when that's not necessarily what's happening. They're not bad. And so I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It's been fun being on this journey with you. It's still fun being on this journey with you. That sounded like this was like an exit
I'm like, hold
interview.
on a second. Yeah, because it sounds like we're about to sign off here and we haven't even like scratched the surface yet.
Yeah. So you mean the world to me, and you're saving dogs with me. So like when you and I go in there, like, we are unstoppable. And the moment that I knew you were awesome was when we started working together and you were helping me out. I think you were still employed by the shelter at the time. And I was like, hey, could you help me? I need to get that dog. And because I like to understand them a little more so I could share their story. And you're like, sure. And this dog is just running in circles. It's a big old dog. Like, I can't remember if it was it wasn't a Great Dane, but it was a very large, like Labrador or Shepherd or something. It definitely weighs more than you do. Because if you're listening right now, Alexis is
Petite.
soaking wet. She would probably be about the same size as a German Shepherd, weight wise. Yeah. So this dog was running around, and I was like, yeah, I want to try to get that dog so I can tell her story. And you're like, yeah, sure. She grabs the lead, whips it around, and lassos this dog, and just cinches it up, and just guides this dog over to him. I'm like, whoa, And because at the time, I think you were what was your title? Social media coordinator.
So I actually had 2 titles
Okay.
for a while.
But what was the one when I knew you?
It was media marketing
Okay,
coordinator.
and I didn't know the other one that you had done other things. So
Yeah.
tell us more about how that all came to be. How you came to be the Alexis we know that is good with dogs, good with social media, good at handling me. Carry on.
Well, for some background context, I used to work for a shelter that we visit a lot, Animal Friends of the Valleys.
Yeah, shout out to Animal Friends of the Valleys.
I started working there back in 2019 as animal care specialist or like a kennel attendant. So I was pretty much a lead after a year because, as you know, shelter turnover rates are so high just from the stress and, the emotional turmoil that can
Yeah.
come with that.
So kind of last man standing sort of thing.
Yes. So after a year, I was already kind of a lead. I was already training the new employees and everything in that position. But I had always been very interested in the social media aspect or just creative endeavors in general. I love art. I love creating. So at the time, the shelter didn't really have too much of a social media presence. So they had an internal posting for media marketing coordinator. They never had that position before. And so I pretty much went to HR at the time and almost like without begging, I almost, I kind of begged to be like, can I please do this? Because this would be the perfect blend of creating and helping the animals. So I started doing basically hybrid where I would literally be like, it was the weirdest situation, like going from being in the kennels and scrubs to now being in the offices is like completely 2 different worlds. So I started transitioning over to the office doing the media marketing stuff.
Yeah.
And so there I learned so much about quick ways to be able to help promote stuff that was going on at the shelter. They were also trying to feed, I think, off of me too, because they were a little bit hesitant. A lot of shelters are very hesitant to kind of have a bigger social media
Right.
presence.
Yeah.
So it was almost like trying to convince them, hey, this is really going to help if we can get some of these dog stories out and cats and bunnies, whoever else we got at the
Yeah.
shelter. And not just the events and everything. You need people to fall in love with the animals.
Right.
So that's how you started coming to help out the animals by initially becoming a volunteer, I believe.
Yeah.
And then that's how we met through, hey, I'm the media marketing coordinator. Let's see how we can help these animals together. And then I guess the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you were in a meeting. It was with the shelter. You said, hey, you guys, want to let everyone know this is my last week, so I'm going to take notes and I'll share that with you. And we were like, no, because you were so good at, tying in and helping kind of translate with the shelter what the crazy things we were doing and then the serious kind of day-to-day things they had to do and helping facilitate all that. So I think then we asked the leader of that shelter, we said, hey, can we talk with her? And she said, yeah. And so then we're like, hey, we just come on over here. And you're like, well, I have another job, guys. And we're like, well, do you?
Yeah. I was like, all right. So we want to talk about this. All right, give me the details. What's going to go on? Because if I accept this,
Yeah.
I got to tell this other job, hey, sorry, I know I already said yes,
Yeah.
and I'm supposed to start next week, but
Because the other job was like a real job, right?
it was like a marketing job because I really wanted to try and kind of expand my horizons and
Yeah.
try and like just again creation, right? So
Boy, did you get that and then some?
yeah, but it's honestly it was such a turning point for me in like the best way. It's been such I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Like it has been such an incredible journey, and I also want to say thank you guys as well because I'm just I'm humbled by the opportunity that I got 3 years ago, and I'm still feel like wow, I get to do this. Like I get to help create and also be able to help dogs at the same time. Like what's better than that,
Yeah. It's fun. Well, and I wanna joke around and stuff with you, but I think I'll be serious for a moment because I think that it's a lot harder than people think because there's no roadmap to this. Like what we're doing is it's different. It's hard. A lot of people say, "Hey, we want to go do what you guys are doing. Like we're going to sit in kennels or we're going to go make videos." And we encourage them to do that. I think they think we're going to go, "No, no, this is our gig." Like, but we want you to do it. It's just it's hard sometimes because what we want to tell them is like, keep going because it's really hard and the failure rate is really high. And unfortunately, the inventory is really high. When we go into shelter any given day, just outside of the hundreds of dogs we could be sitting with, there are probably 2 or 3 that we identify that would make really good candidates to just help them feel comforted. And we often can only sit with 1 or 2 at most. So that's kind of the hard part of all of it. But I do want to talk about what are some of the best parts of it. And like, I thought we could start with what is one of your favorite dog memories? Like one of the dogs we sat with that really resonated with you and that you really loved.
It's hard because there's like always like a couple that float to the top for
Yeah.
me. Because obviously I love every dog that we've ever featured.
Yeah.
But I honestly want to say one of the first ones that I did with you was a bull terrier named Dawn.
Oh, Dawn.
Mm.
Oh.
So Dawn, she touched me. I mean, there's been several like this, but she was one of the first with you guys that I really just, oh my gosh, like you know how your heart just sinks and you go like, oh, this dog, I cannot, like even thinking about it, I can feel my like heart squeeze because she was just such a sweet old little lady. It's like, what are you doing here? You're a senior bull terrier that I don't know what you've been through, but you've clearly been through it. She was not in a good state, for sure. You just really wanted to take her home and give her like a nice bed where she could just retire and be by the fire. And she was just so magnificent. And so when we got to take her to Frosted Faces Foundation, that was such a highlight for me because not only did I finally get to see this foundation that I had heard so much about, but also be able to give her that opportunity was just so wonderful. And then to be able to follow up later down the line when she got fostered and then she got adopted, it was the best. Like I remember interviewing her new owner and like we basically cried together on the call because I was just so elated that she is in the home that she deserved to be in. I mean, her mom would put her in like a little Halloween costume for her where she was the target dog and like it was just ideal. And so a few months after that when we got the news that, Dawn had passed away, I mean, obviously we were devastated, but also it was like I am so happy that she got to retire like we wanted her to retire in a forever home
Yeah.
with a loving mom and just live out her golden
Yeah.
days and months. Like,
Yeah, because she just passed of natural old age. I mean, she was old.
yeah, she was old, but I'm like, I'm so happy it was not at the shelter.
I think people don't realize how close to the sun we flew on that one, or she flew on that one, because like, okay, so if you're listening and you're not watching, you don't see the pictures of her. Imagine the bull terrier like the target dog, right? Just adorable dog. But these dogs are bully breed dogs. I'm going to tell you why that's important here in a minute. But she had a tremendous amount of ailments. I mean, she was so stiff she could barely even walk. You could see it in her skin. She smelled like, I mean, I won't even explain the smell. It's horrible. And the reason I bring that up is not because that doesn't stop us from loving the dogs, but everything in your body goes, oh, this is really wrong. Something's off here. Your smell, the sound, the sight, everything. And often it's the smell of disease, which is just helpful sometimes because then you know something is really off. It's a smell you can't ever really pin down. You go, what is that? And it's because it's disease.
Yeah, well, I think going back to when you guys were talking about the smell of the shelter, it always reminds me because I'm not in the shelter as often with you guys. And so when I come in there and I like have the fresh nose because I haven't been in a couple weeks and I'm like, whoa, like this smells like something very off, but like the different smells of disease, like you can identify it. Like
Yeah.
when a dog has something wrong with them, you can tell like, oh, that's a skin thing or that's a poop thing or that's a, like
Yeah.
you start recognizing ailments by their smell. And that's weird.
Yeah.
That's
So-
weird.
But yeah, and the reason I bring all that up is because most shelters then will need to help that dog leave this world. It's the humane thing to do. That almost happened, but we swooped in. I had to beg Frosted Faces Foundation, not because they're not amazing, but because they have so many senior dogs that they pull all the time. And I actually hadn't talked to Kelly for a while, the director. We had fostered from there before. And it was a bull terrier, which she told me, I didn't realize this, but it made sense after. They don't often mix in well with senior dogs because they are such bullies.
Right.
You know, like imagine an old angry person that's a bulldog, you know, this is what bull terriers often are in their old
Well,
age.
and they take seniors, but they also take dogs of any age sometimes, right?
That's
Like,
right. Yeah, they're awesome, right?
yeah.
They lead with their heart first, but then they have some parameters. So she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, what's it going to take? And so I had a big IOU, but maybe even some of you watching right now, so many people donated that we were
Yep.
able to raise how much? Like 45,
I
50,000 something?
Yeah, I haven't looked
Crazy.
at it recently, but
Awesome. Thank you. It goes straight to the shelter, so we
Yeah.
don't always see the exact number. Yeah. So it was a neat story. And yeah, you definitely advocated for that dog. You're like, we have to help. You were crying at
Oh,
the
I
shelter,
was.
which you don't do often.
No,
Yeah.
because I mean, you do have to have well, at least in my belief, like you do have to have a healthy separation between the shelter life and your personal, like, because emotions can work the best and the worst for us because you need to be
Yes.
able to think through, like, let's get a plan of action together. We can cry about it later.
Yeah.
Right. So, but for her, it was like so hard because I do remember that.
It definitely, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I mean, I wanted to help her, but I was like, oh, okay.
I
Call Frosted Faces and beg them because I got Alexis crying over here.
I'm serious when I say like it was so vulnerable, but the day after we filmed,
Yeah.
I had swung by the shelter. I took a video with her. I took a couple pictures with her because I genuinely did not know. Like I really thought she was going to, like, that was going to be the last time I would ever see her.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy it wasn't.
Yeah. And she was so bad, we didn't even know if she would make it through the night, you know, just in the kennel.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen that before. She was amazing. She crossed the rainbow bridge knowing what true love is. And senior dogs are always the hardest when you see them like this because you go, they gave their whole life to someone. And then when it was their turn, and it's not always the case, right? Sometimes a senior person might pass and then the family doesn't know what to do or can't take a dog in their apartment. So I don't go straight to that, but yeah, we've been doing this for so long now that it is interesting that we've seen so many of these dogs over the rainbow bridge in a good way, you know? Okay. What about you? You have a question? I told everyone that we were going to like expose me and stuff. Like, I
Well,
guess we could go to, yeah, Kelly would probably be better at asking these questions of like, what's the crap you have to put up with this guy?
yeah, yeah. Thanks for taking over for me so that I get a break. No, I'm just kidding. What do you think is either the worst part about this job or working with Rocky? Or what's the hardest part, like, or what's something that like you just didn't really expect coming into it?
That was a lot of questions.
I don't, well, I'm trying to give her options, so if she doesn't want to directly answer one of that,
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so I'll say a surprising thing is probably just the very on the fly nature of the job. For instance, when filming with Maui Humane Society,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know we were going to Maui until about a week and a half before. And it was literally brought up like, oh, so by the way, are you doing anything from this date to this date? Which
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's like already like
Yeah. Next.
next week, essentially. I was like, no, I don't think so. Like, why? And it's like, okay, so we're gonna book you your flight to Maui so that we'll be here, you'll be there. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What? Oh, all right. Like, okay, like, I guess we're doing this. And
Yeah.
so that's been the most, I think, craziest part about it. I was not expecting to be able to do that in the name of helping dogs. It's wild, but it's also just like, it is exciting, you know?
I'm sorry. I surround myself with people that are planners, that are very detail oriented, that can really think through the problems because I'm not that. And how the Hawaii thing worked on the back end is one of my dear friends that works at the shelter. So this was after the fires. And they said, hey, we could really use some help. We're having issues with X, Y, and Z. Can you help? I said, we'll be there next week. Like I sometimes I don't think through that. You know, I just go, this is a good idea. They need help. Let's go help them. And then, yeah. And then I'm sorry. I often leave all the pieces I feel like I'm talking to both of you right now. I leave all the pieces to pick up to both of you guys. So sorry and thank you.
It's cool. I mean, it is great. I'd never been to Maui Humane Society, so it was so cool to see how things operate there and to be able to be like, hey, I'm working, but here I am with the little, coconut, with the water on the beach. Like I'm working away. Like just, hey, mom.
Yeah, here I am. This is what dog rescue is. The state of dog
So
rescue.
dog rescue's like, so no, but that was probably the most surprising part about it is just being kind of like on the fly. All right, we're doing this now. When? Next week.
Yeah, I always say that anyone kind of in this orbit has to be able to pivot because if you resist the pivot, your life is going to be challenging.
No, that's not true. That's Shin, I'm the orbit.
Yeah. Well, just it's how you operate. But also in dealing with living things that you can't control, you have to be able to adjust accordingly because they're not on our schedule, right? So
That is the funniest thing when brands that want to work with us call us and say, hey, yeah, could you just connect us with this shelter? Or could you just bring this dog to this event on this date? And we're like, oh, no, gosh, that's not how it works. Like,
Yeah.
you just basically got to keep the phone ringer on and we'll call you when it's happening.
Exactly. I mean, it'll be like, oh, can we do it in 6 weeks or something? And it's like, shelter time, especially rescue time, 6 weeks is like, oh my God, that's like a lifetime.
Yeah, the dog will be adopted or not with us anymore.
Exactly. It's just on day-to-day basis.
When people are watching Sitting with Dogs, what's something that they don't know that you would want them to know?
I see a lot of comments where the AI wasn't, I guess, working as well as it should, and they hear some of the dogs crying in the background, and they sometimes will automatically assume that dog is in pain or like there's something wrong that's happening. And I wish I could tell all of those people that any shelter or rescue you go to with live animals is going to have the dogs or the cats or like, making noise. And they're just like, where am I? What's going on? But rest assured, they're okay. It's just, and they're being taken care of. It's just like, they just don't know what's going on or they're bored or they just want to go outside because they just were outside about 2 minutes ago and they want to go back outside again. So there's so many contexts that I feel like a lot of people are missing where maybe they don't visit shelters as often and they don't understand that's kind of average, I would say, at any shelter or rescue you'd go to.
it's normal, unfortunately.
It is
But
normal,
it
yeah.
is a high stress environment for them, but that's what high stress sounds like.
Exactly.
But that's normal baseline, right?
Yeah, and I think it's like obviously it hurts everyone's hearts to hear that. I mean, it hurts us too, but we also need to make sure that we're in the moment. We're focusing on the dog we're sitting with because I know sometimes when people will be like, "Oh, well, help that dog that was crying in the background at this timestamp or this one that you heard at this timestamp." And it's like, yeah, every dog needs help, but that's where we need you to come in, help, because there's only our team, right? We have to focus on the dogs that we're there in the moment with right then and there. We're not able to jump around to every single dog at the shelter that needs help because the reality is all of them need help and we need more people out there to help them.
If someone wants to do what you're doing, what advice would you give them to get started?
Well, definitely volunteer. That's how I started with animal care work in general was volunteering. I actually started off doing, they called it cat socializer role,
Okay.
which was, I mean, you can imagine I basically got to go spend time with kitties that otherwise wouldn't get many visitors, which was great. From there, you can kind of pivot and move to different areas. So like the more you show loyalty and you show up as a volunteer to the shelter or rescue that you volunteer at, they'll start saying, hey, can you help out here now? Can you help out here? So that might actually include social media and starting to help with them there. Because a lot of the shelters and rescues that we are involved with, they need help with that. They don't know how to really get into the social media world or they don't understand how important it is to really get eyes on the dogs that are there. So yeah, I would start there. And I would say you got to show up and be committed. So it's not just a few weeks and then see ya.
Right.
Stay there, show up consistently, and be very communicative with the team there so that they all know your face. And then you'll be able to start asking, hey, what else can I help with?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, most of them, if not all of them, will always be happy to hear somebody say, how else can I help?
You can start out small and it will blossom into things you never imagined. Like if you're sitting there going, well, how do I get started? Just start small. Just start somewhere. And if you've been rejected before, that's okay. Go back again. Right. Like, or try different shelter or rescue. But if you have a phone and if you're good with animals and you can tell a story, you can make a video to share, because at the end of the day, like, you are that animal's hope, right? You're their biggest advocate. You're their biggest voice, and they need you to advocate for them. That one dog or that one cat at the shelter, they need you to advocate for them. So I'd say go do it. But just kind of the way I look at it is like, I would love to drive a bulldozer. Right? But if I showed up at a construction site and I was like, hey, I'm super into bulldozers, I'd like to drive that. They'd be like, what? You know, they'd be like, okay, here's where you're going to start. You're going to go pick up all the scrap pieces of wood laying around the job site. And then from there, I would move up straight to the bulldozer, right? No, then I would have to go, and it's like, okay, now you're going to work with this foreman and you're going to learn how to do X, Y, and Z until you get to the point where, okay, then you get to start.
Great analogy. Great analogy.
I was about to say, like, great, this guy with his, oh,
Bulldozer, write that down. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a pretty good one. You guys will let us know in the comments. I'm sure of it.
I feel like we've talked about this before, but tell us about your pets.
ooh, yay. Okay, so
Wait, hold on. Let me rephrase that. Tell us about your dogs.
right now I don't actually have dogs.
I know, exposed. The real
I
exposure is here on Alexis.
I know. It's crazy. I know. So I actually have 2 rescue cats. Both came from the shelter Animal Friends of the Valley.
Yeah.
Their names are Bucky and Vandal.
They're cute. If you're watching right now, you're seeing pictures of them, but describe both of them.
Yeah, so they were both 5. I adopted them both when they were 3 months old. One of them, Vandal, is a all gray, thinking mixed with Russian blue, but mostly probably just a gray, short hair, beautiful green eyes, and he is a little monster, but we love him. He's calmed down over the years, thankfully. And then the other one is a long hair, gray and white kitty named Bucky. He's like 2 times larger than Vandal, but he thinks he's smaller than Vandal by the way he acts. Vandal runs the house, but Bucky was actually semi-feral when we adopted him. Nobody wanted him. He was at risk because of the way he acted at the shelter. Vandal, on the other hand, was a very social cat. So he was a lot more friendly and open to everybody, but Bucky was completely the opposite. Found by animal control under a car by himself at like 3 months old. So he might have been actually potentially abused as a kid, just from, you know, how some animals just, you could tell there's something there. So it took months with Bucky to get him to even be pet without wanting to attack, basically. But it was so well worth it because now he is just a love bug and he still has his boundaries. But I mean, that's fine, you know, like we respect it, and he's happy at home. They're both happy cats at home.
Good kitties.
Mhm.
But there you have it, guys. Sitting with Dogs producer is actually a cat lover.
Well, and for everybody who says that they can't have a dog, you could still be involved like Alexis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, you've had dogs and love
Yes.
dogs. As of late, you recently lost one of your dogs. You want to tell us about that? Do you feel comfortable talking about that?
Yeah. With lost ones, like you want to be able to talk about them because you want to keep them alive in a way. That's how I feel about my family dog Chester. He was a 16-year-old Yorkie. We lost him last year. The cutest little button of a Yorkie. Sorry, it's a little hard to talk about it because yeah, I mean it really does, like you say with Flip. It feels hard to believe, oh my gosh, like it feels like it was just yesterday, right? It really does. It really does feel like I keep thinking it was like just the other week, and it's been over a year now since we lost him. I'm just so happy that he got to live to 16. I mean, you know, he was such a character till to the end, and that was the last of my childhood pets that passed. Had another dog, Molly, that passed away about 6 years ago now. And I also had a cat around the time too, childhood cat that passed as well. So to have him pass away was just, you know, you've got one of your like strong parents, like you never, like, I don't know about you guys, but you got a parent or a loved one that you never see cry or show emotion really. Like they were always tough as nails. That's my mom. To see her cry when we were holding him as, you know, he was passing, was probably like one of the hardest things to see, to be honest with you. Other than obviously my boy passing.
Oh yeah.
So it's like that. And then just, growing up with him, he grew up with me. He saw me as a kid. He saw me as a teenager, saw me become an adult. And it's like almost like he said, hey, my job's done here. That's how I kind of see it. So
If he were here today and he could understand you, what would you say to him?
we loved you so much. You were so important to us more than you'll ever know. I'm so happy you got to see my little sister grow up too. And just thank you so much for everything that you provided for us and unconditional love and everything. And we love you so much.
What would he say to you?
I would, hope he would say, I love you, but also just thank you for giving me the best life and filling every day with happiness, and for my favorite ball, for just, I don't know. I feel like dogs are so simple in the way that they're just so straight with everything, with like, just, I love you. And when are we going to play again?
Okay, Alexis, make this cry.
I know I'm trying not to, but it's like you just have those moments where, I don't know, listening to a song or whatever it may be. And then you just like find yourself looking through their photos. And I literally just had this like last week, and I just like was like, okay, I gotta let it out, because it's just, what's the saying where it's like they are with you for a part of your life, but to them, you're their whole life, And so that just really gets me every time I think about it.
It puts it in perspective for sure. Sometimes poor Alexis, like I'll just be working with a dog in there, and then I will drop like something super vulnerable, or like I'll start tearing up or whatever, and then I just catch a glance of Alexis, and she's like, "Oh God." Like, oh wow, we're going there right now. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like,
So you get to finally do it to me here,
it's like hard because I'm like, I want to say something like, hey, I'm so sorry to hear that, or because it's a lot of time it's like, that might be the first time I'm hearing about it too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, like, all right, we're going there. All right, let me just like, okay, I'll let him finish, and then afterwards I'll be like, hey, I'm so sorry about that, or whatever, right? But no, a lot of times it's the first time I'm hearing about it too. So
Yeah, I think the last time I caught your face going, oh my, was when I was like, oh yeah, my brother's on hospice, he's terminal, and he's not going to be with us any longer. I told him it's okay to die, and you're just like, oh. And then I get out of the kennel, and you're like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's just the niceties us humans give each other. But when you're with a dog, you just like open up and you just talk and share. And
well,
so
it's hard not to.
it's hard.
It's hard not to. They feel that.
But it's also because I feel comfortable around you. So thank you. I will say that if you do want to do what Alexis is doing, we've been promoting and moving people up the ladder. So we're going to be hiring. So if you want to also work with Alexis, I guess we're throwing out a for hire, but you got to be in the vicinity of like Southern California, Temecula down to, let's call it, Oceanside. Okay. Is there anything we didn't ask you that we should have asked you, or something funny you want people to know, or bad, or is there a spill all, or is this where you want to ask for a raise? Like, this is your moment right here.
Oh gosh, I think I've spilled enough today, but
Well, we'll have you back, obviously. But yeah, we do have a really amazing crew and team. And because this is so real, I think people can really feel how genuine you are and others. And so it's a lot of fun. And I think we want to start having the adoptable dog where you can share the adoptable dog with us, or you can help coordinate someone at the shelter sharing the adoptable dog. But we did talk before you came in here, and you have an adoptable dog that you want to bring up and advocate for. So who is this week's adoptable dog?
this week's adoptable dog is Bolt. He is an American bully mix. He's between 2 and 4 years old, we're thinking right now.
Yep.
But he is
A hot mess.
a hot mess. Yes, that 2 vets have said he's a hot mess, by the way. That's quote for quote. He's got a lot of issues going on right now. We're getting him some help. He's going to have to definitely rehabilitate for a few months for sure.
Tell us a little bit about Bolt's story. Like, give us a recap.
Yeah, so Bolt is from the San Jacinto shelter. We discovered him just because we could tell already off the bat that he, like the vet said, is a hot mess. Both of his ears were completely swollen shut. They were that infected. One of his paws were just really inflamed looking. We weren't sure what what's going on there.
It looked like someone slammed it in a car door.
Yes.
I don't think that happened. He probably got run over or hit by a car.
Yeah, so he's got a lot going on internally as well. He's got a hip that is likely going to need surgery. There's just so much going on with this boy. It was almost like, what isn't wrong?
What isn't wrong with him? We are most likely going to have to amputate one of his legs. We might have to take out his eardrums because he's got an infection so bad because someone cropped his ears, didn't do it right. They got fly strikes. The one physical attribute that he has where his name comes from, tell him about that.
So we nicknamed him Bolt because his tail looks like a little lightning bolt.
It's been broken, and I don't know. The vet didn't say that, but I'm telling you, you don't get a tail like that unless it's been snapped a couple times. It looks like a Z, like a lightning bolt. We could have named him Zorro too.
It matches his personality too. He really is like a lightning bolt. It's not just his tail. From day one, everybody immediately felt,
Oh, they love him.
he's got a spirit like no other. That little man is gonna like you. That's why we're like,
He's gonna be awesome.
he's gonna be so great. I mean, even at his lowest,
Yeah.
he is just so bright and so ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. And so we're going to open up adoption applications. It might be a little bit because we've got to get him through these antibiotics that he's on. We've got to figure out, are we going to need to amputate? So it could be, a couple months to 6 months, but let's start getting people teed up now for this awesome guy. And a little behind the scenes thing. This is what I think we should do when you come on, is talk about these things. When we were filming, we had to cut out a good portion because he likes guys. He liked the vet too. Like he is just humping and humping and humping. I can't wait to get him neutered. Like he just couldn't wait. But you know what it was? I think from what I was seeing is he was in so much pain that he was just redirecting that pain, and he would cry to lay down. But anyways, but I didn't put it in the original video because I don't want that to preclude people from adopting him, because I think he's just going to do that all the time. We'll work through that. You can't take a dog in a kennel and say that's who the dog is or that's what the behavior is. And so I didn't want that to be the focus or, the joke through the video or anything, because I just wanted his story to be told. Like he did hump me the whole time.
Yeah. I feel like that bully breed of just the tenacity, sheer will to live is
Yeah.
probably what has kept him going through all of these ailments and pain,
Yeah,
and
well-
is still happy-go-lucky. And so, yes, he is a bully, but that's just what makes him so special,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we're going to fight for him. We're going to put him through the whole workup. He's going to be the first Flip Farms dog. He might be the first dog on the new farm, one of the first batches, depending on how long we have him or what procedures we have to go through. And yeah, but good. Okay, I think that's a good adoptable dog of the week.
Is there anything you want to ask while we're here?
Kelly pointed to me if someone is watching.
Just figure we're doing a lot of the questions. Is there anything we want to throw back to you if there's any questions?
In the first, 6 months to a year that we were working together, what's something maybe that sticks out in your brain as a team bonding moment there? I think that would be something really cool to hear.
It's the joy when we win, when we're against all odds and it shouldn't happen. And you're willing to just stick with me for a minute for me to go, I know this is kind of crazy, but what if we did X? And you're like, oh, because, you got to either go pitch that to the shelter, or the likelihood of that succeeding is near to zero, and we win. And vice versa. Sometimes the other way around, where I'll be like, no way. And you're like, yeah, but what if we approached it this way? And I'm like, well, maybe. And so we get through those humps, and that dog is now living their best life. I think that's the neatest thing about what we do. Unfortunately, because of this dire situation at shelters across America, I think sometimes we don't pat ourselves or take the time to celebrate as much as we should, because when we have a win, we go, okay, great win, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And that's good. That's good in a way. But yeah, I think right now we just take a moment to celebrate and go, man, against all odds in so many situations, we have won, and it's been for the betterment of that dog, the life-saving betterment of that dog.
Absolutely.
So good work.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Cheers. Yeah, dogs and coffee.
Dogs and coffee.
Yeah.
If this didn't win you over to subscribe, we've been working hard, then I don't know what will. Hit that subscribe button right now and go get some Flip coffee, because it's the best coffee in the world and it helps us continue to do what we're doing, rescuing these dogs.
Thank you for sharing this so that we can get our adoptable dog seen.